do an orzo salad. Now it involves some ingredients that you can get fresh from your garden, but one of the nice things about it is that a lot of the things can be done ahead. You want to actually combine things pretty close to when you're ready because you don't want some of these ingredients to wilt, but you can have everything prepped ahead so that when your party is ready or when your family is ready for dinner, you can mix it up and be ready to go. First step is to cook some orzo. So I've got a ½ pound, 8 ounces of orzo, which is a kind of pasta. Now, if you wanted to use a long grain rice or a whole grain rice, you could substitute that for this. I've cooked it according to package directions, using the shorter time because I don't want it to get too soft. And then when it was done, drained it well and stirred into it 3 tablespoons of olive oil. You could use 1.5 to 2. The reason I went ahead and used the full amount is that, like all pasta, there's going to be starch on the outside, and I didn't want it to stick together. And putting the olive oil on it at that point prevents that from happening. Make sure you use a good flavored olive oil because you are going to pick up a lot of the flavor from this. We're not going to make another dressing. That's going to actually be part of the dressing. And also because we're putting it on it while it's warm, more of the flavor is going to be absorbed into the pasta than would happen otherwise. Next thing, this is going to sit until it drops down to room temperature. You can put it in the refrigerator, pull it back out, let it sit for ½ an hour or so, and it would be back to room temperature again. So there's that do it ahead of time kind of thing. Next thing I'm going to add is 3 cups of baby spinach. Now, baby spinach, you can use some of the stems on that. You don't have to clean it off quite as much. This, for instance, it's going to be fine because the spinach is young and tender. If you've got older spinach, make sure you take off those tougher center stems. Also to this is 3/4 of a cup of feta cheese, 1 cup of dried cranberries. You could use other dried fruit as well or instead of. Next, I'm going to add about 12 torn basil leaves. So just roll them up in a bunch and rip them as they're going in here. Tearing them is actually a little bit better than cutting them, particularly for this kind of salad. The parts of the basil come out when you cut them, and it's more apt to turn dark on you than if you do it this way. Next step, I've toasted a ½ cup of slivered almonds. Now, toasting is very simple. You don't have to heat your house up. You simply spread out the slivered almonds or whatever nut you're using into a skillet. Keep your eye on it and your nose on it because when they're toasted, you're going to stir them around and they're going to start to smell like they are cooked nuts. So just stay with them. Once they've gone too far, you have to start over. Also to this, I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of fresh lemon juice. And that's the acid that's going to match out with that olive oil that we had earlier. ½ teaspoon of a coarse salt and ½ teaspoon of black pepper. And then it's simply a matter of stirring these all together. Get that one out of my way. Use a couple of spoons. We're just going to toss it together. And you're going to see that the cranberries actually start to look a little bit more red. The whole thing looks really, really pretty. Now, the reason that you don't want to do this too far ahead is because both the spinach and the basil are going to wilt down too much. So if this is too much for your family, you know it's going to be too much, it would be better to take a few minutes and do the math and reduce the recipe than it would be to try and put it in the refrigerator for a later time. This makes 8 servings, so they're going to be fairly generous. I hope you'll give this one a try. It is really, really tasty. It's sweet, sour, crunchy, soft, all the nice things that we like to have as far as changes in texture and flavors. It's Orzo Salad for Oklahoma Gardening. I'm Barbara Brown.